What's going on? Are we here? I'm going to go live on Instagram. Okay. Was my screen blank then, or were we all good? Hello Instagram. I'm just trying to share my live. I'm having all sorts of technical difficulties with my StreamYard at the moment. It's happened to me twice today. So I'm just sharing from my business page into the group so the people in the group can pick up the live as well. So give me a second to do that. While I am doing that, prayers and thoughts and feelings for anybody in the Florida area that is dealing with the hurricane. I cannot believe the footage that I've woken up to here in Australia. It's devastating. So hopefully the people in my group can now see my live. I hope so. Anyway, I don't know if anyone can check that for me. If I'm live in my social media group, my free social media group, that would be helpful if that's listening on my business page. That could let me know because I can't see the comments over there either. So I know anybody in the Florida area probably wouldn't be on this live, shouldn't be on this live, should be looking after their welfare, but thoughts and prayers for those that are going through the hurricane at the moment. I just pray for your safety and that your houses are safe and that you're safe, human lives are saved, and there's not too much destruction from that. So just really feeling for everybody over there. If you are joining me live, what we're sharing today, or even on the replay, is what's better on social media. Is it the quality or the quantity of your content? Now, if you caught my last live at the end of last week, I went through in detail the different platforms with kind of how often you should post on what platform, when, what's more important, etc. From that has come like a number of questions regarding I can't keep up with that, or is that actually the right thing to do if I haven't really got good content, etc. So let's have a conversation around quality versus quantity of content, because there's it's really hard when people listen to people training on social media and they hear something and then somebody says something different and they're like, I'm all confused. And it's like, I get it. That was one of my biggest issues when I first started learning in the online world, is I'd listen to some person, get some advice, and then you'd listen to somebody else and they'd say something different. Like even little things like hashtags. Like I would read somebody say, yep, use all 30 hashtags. And then I'd listen to another guru say, only use a maximum of 5 hashtags and do this and do that. And it's like, what the hell is the right thing to do on social media when everybody's saying something different? So I just want to give you my views on quality versus quantity content, but keep this in context with my live video that I did late last week. If you didn't catch that, just scroll down whatever platform that you are on. It'll be my last live video, whether that's Facebook or YouTube or Instagram over here, etc. Before I just get into the description of and the understanding of quality versus quantity, I have just finished a training in my coaching community regarding active and prospecting strategies on social media to help you grow your business. And it was part 2 of that training. And I went deep into active prospecting and how you do it in an attraction marketing way, the language, the questions, the strategy around how you do it successfully. And there is a lot of gold in that training with detailed notes. So if you are a coaching community member and you missed that training live, the recording is over in the group. It'll be emailed out to you shortly as well. It'll also be put up on the members website soon and the app. So make sure you go and grab that training, because it's going to be so useful to you in relation to active prospecting. And just something on that, unless I know you all want to build in the attraction marketing way and not necessarily actively prospect. I get it. That's why everyone wants to do attraction marketing. But if your content is not creating the conversations, you have to take responsibility in creating conversations yourself, because your business will never grow. You can't sit back on social media and just do posts and reels and stories and expect the people to come. and want what you have and just buy from you. It doesn't work that way. You've still got to have human relationships, human connection, conversations, nurturing prospects. You've still got to do all that side of it if you're going to grow your business successfully online. So just put that into perspective. You can't post and pray. You've got to be actively prospecting, but it's the mindset around prospecting. It's the language that you use. It's the questions that you ask that's going to turn it into a good experience versus a terrible experience. It's no one wants to hassle their family and friends, and you don't have to. But you still need to have conversations with lots of people on social media, and some of those conversations you might need to initiate. It's just learning how to do it the right way instead of the wrong way, okay? So, yeah, catch that replay for your coaching community. If you're not a coaching community member, you should be. Just that training alone is worth hundreds of dollars to people. And I charge next to nothing in my coaching community. Like, the training that I give you guys over there is insane for, the small amount that people pay to be over there. It is absolutely the best investment that you could make in your business is being in my coaching community. I'm telling you. Anyway, let's move on. So who's here to say hello to? We've got Cherie. We've got Terry. Yeah, I know. Thank you. I did disappear. Okay. Dean is still here. Have the winds picked up, Dean? Tell me what you're actually experiencing at the moment. Like, is it getting stronger? Dean's in Florida in the middle of the hurricane at the moment. So he hasn't got any internet, but he's got his phone. You've got enough connection to be here, obviously. I'd just love to know what's actually going on right now. And I know your priority is to keep yourself safe, but I know this is helping distract you from what's going on there. But yeah, share with us what's going on in real time. Thank you, Cherie. I appreciate you checking on that. I'm live in the group. Thank you so much. Coaching community is amazing. Thank you. So let's go into the context of what's better, quality or quantity. So again, no one size fits all when I give this advice to you. So if somebody says quality is everything, not quantity, yes, quality content is what you want to put out there, absolutely. But there are things to think about regarding quantity with things like reels and platforms, because sometimes you have to put quite a bit of content out there before you get good at what you do. You have to practice and get good to be great. Okay, so I'll explain that in a moment. Ideally, all of your content would be quality content. Agreed? Like, wouldn't it be amazing if every single piece of content you put out there was quality? It was either inspiring or entertaining or insightful or empowering, or did I just say that? Or educational or valuable or thought-provoking. Like, ideally, every piece of content that you put out there on social media would be quality content. But would it be fair to say, while you're learning how to build your business on social media, not every piece of content is a quality piece of content? Is that correct? So if you focus all on the quality, you're potentially going to become too much of a perfectionist, and you're going to hold yourself back. And you have to learn, you have to, do to get good, and then good to get great. So sometimes you need to get into the flow of putting content out there, especially with something like Reels, trying to get the algorithm going and all those kind of things. And you're going to put content out there that is not necessarily quality content. And that's not because you're not trying. It's just that you're learning how to brand yourself. You're learning how to really dial in and focus in on who you help and what you help them with. And you're learning how to put the text, and you're learning how to put all the music. So it may not be quality content, but you want that consistent quantity of content, either once a day or twice a day, something like that, with Reels on Instagram or TikTok, to learn to be good, to be great. Does that make sense? The other side of this is, if you're going for quantity on a platform, so I already shared with you in my last video last week when I was talking about how many times should you post on what platform. You don't want to overdo it on Facebook. like it's particularly on a news feed. You do not want to post multiple times a day on Facebook unless you're incorporating a reel which is going outside your current sort of network. So then you could probably do 2. Okay, so all of that was in my previous video to this one. But what was I going to say? I completely forgot what I was going to say when I went on a tangent then. Something about Facebook, quality content. Shoot, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. Have any of you done that? Like gone live? Like if you've been around me for a while, I actually do it quite often. But I think my brain works like sometimes my speech goes faster than my brain or vice versa or something like that. Anyway, but so these are the things that you need to consider for you in relation to quality versus quantity. If you get too hung up on quality when you are new, you will turn into a perfectionist and you won't post enough. Have any of you held yourself back from thinking that's not good enough, it's not quality enough? And then for somebody to, say, if it's not quality, don't post at all, that's dangerous because you're never going to learn. You have to learn to get good, to get great. So please don't overthink quality. As I said, ideally, everyone would love every piece of content to be high quality, no doubt about it. But when you come first online, there's a lot to learn, and you have to learn to be good before you can be good to be great. So you probably end up more with quantity than you will quality, but that's not a bad thing when you get started because you have to learn. Okay? So the platforms are very important in relation to quantity though. And I'm not going to repeat everything that I said in my video, my last video, late last week, my last video of the week about quantity per platforms. But if you are going to do more quantity and you're not quite quality there yet because you're newer, that's okay. Don't become a perfectionist. A perfectionist is only going to hold you back from putting any content out there at all. And nobody wants that. But the more quantity you put out there, this is what you need to do to survive. Learn to plan and batch record. Like if it's reels, like the only thing that you should be putting out on like high quantity is reels, like short form video. There really shouldn't be any other type of content that you're putting out over and over and over again on any of the platforms. So it might be reels. Reels, if you're sticking to 1 a day, that's cool. 2 a day, maybe 3 a day. Okay, now you're getting pretty serious, but is that sustainable for you? Is if every piece of content, like something like 3 a day would be somebody who's dialed in with their brand, they know exactly who they're talking to and what they're talking to about, and they're really good at creating content, and they're really good at batch recording content, so they're not exhausted by it. Does that make sense? If you are newer to your social media journey, you're still working out your brand, you're still finding your feet, you're still finding your following and building up the following, and you're like, I'm all in, I'm 3 a day, particularly on TikTok, the algorithm is very responsive, and you may or may not do well from that. We don't know, but it is a recommendation to, more the better. So you need to balance this with you learning, but also if you're going to keep up with something like even 1 a day, 2 a day or more, you have to get good at moving into quality content quicker. So knowing who you serve and what you serve them with. Okay, so your messaging has to be really good to pull that off, to get views on every single one of those, to get good comments, good engagement, etc. And I'll give you my personal experience with this in a minute. The other thing is you want to be batch recording. You want to batch record like videos, like reels. You want to batch record batch create your attention grabbers and your hooks and your descriptions and your calls to action, and have that all ready to go. That's the only way you're really going to survive with doing multiple pieces of content while you're learning. If that's something that you want to do, you have to test and evaluate. And there is no one person that can give you any piece of advice that's going to be foolproof on social media. No one. You have to test and evaluate different strategies for yourself. And you could do all the content under the sun, but if you still haven't got your personal branding statement like that, if it's not, if it's not on point with who you're talking to and what you're talking to them about, you can put out 3 reels a day, every day for 3 months, and it goes nowhere because your content is all over the place. So there's things that you need to have in check to do more content, to do quality content. So you've got to consider all of that. And I know this actually might be really confusing to listen to because I'm saying on one hand, don't be a perfectionist and go for full quality when you're new and you're learning, because you're only going to hold yourself back from putting any content out there. But you don't want to get into burnout either. It's very easy to get burnt out with the quantity of content that you might think you need to do. So you are better finding a nice balance between the amount of content that works for you on the platform that you're on. Again, go back and watch my video from last week as to the quantity on which platform, because it's a different strategy on each platform. But the last thing you want to do is burn out and hate social media that much that you give it away. And that happens all the time. It will happen for a number of reasons, is because you're doing the do thinking that's the right thing to do, and it's just overkill. And the quality of the content. So what I've been doing and this is just real and raw from me, what I've been doing to get more reels up on you guys are listening from this channel at the moment, over on Instagram on my phone here. So my VA and I work on cutting up these videos and doing them as reels. So I'm here live with you for 20 minutes or, so talking about a particular topic. And I give quite a bit of valuable information, but some people won't watch that kind of length of video. So we chop them up and we put them into reels. So we've got one going up a day, and then I've got my other posts and reminders going up a day. So I've got a lot of content going up on my Instagram. But at the moment, they're not really working. So they're not really getting many views, even though the content might be good and helpful to my audience. They're really short, they're like under 90 seconds, but I'm probably better off doing different types of reels, which is what I'm going to test and evaluate moving forward. So it doesn't matter what you do, the quality of the content's under the quantity. It's not necessarily always about just pumping out more content. But it's also on the flip side of that, don't get too hung up on quality if it's going to hold you back because you're a perfectionist. And am I making any sense at all? Because I know I'm jumping around. My main points are, you have to assess what's right for you at your stage in the business. If you've got an established following and an established brand, and you are laser focused on who you serve and what you serve them with, and you can put great quality content out there with attention grabbing hook and do really well with your views on Instagram, or TikTok, you could actually do less content because it's quality. And you've already got an audience. As soon as you're going to put something up, you're going to get views. Now, somebody starting out doesn't have that. So you might need to put more content out there. It may be, more quantity of content, which at this stage is not necessarily the quality, because you're learning. And it's not a bad thing. You've got to learn to get good, to get great, but do not burn yourself out. So if you're going to do, even 1 reel a day or 2 reels a day, get really good at planning and researching good hooks, researching good attention grabbers, creating a whole lot of B-roll, what we mean by behind the scenes kind of video footage on your phone. Practice that at the same time that you're practicing you're building on your personal brand, because the quicker you can create quality content that speaks to who you want to speak to with the problems that you solve. And as soon as you put an attention grabber and a hook up there, they're like, what's that? I need to watch that. You'll get to that stage at one point, and you could possibly do even less content than you're doing now. So please balance this with where you're at. I don't know where you're all at, but initially you might have to do more quantity of content to test and evaluate what's working and what isn't. If you, and you know, you don't want to overthink things sometimes when you're new, because that's how you find your feet and you find out what people resonate with, and you find out the views, and you find out, wow, that was a good hook, I'm going to use that again. But it's not until you test and evaluate different pieces of content like that that you're going to learn that for yourself. So there is no one size fits all when it comes to the answer to this question. You've got to evaluate where you're at, how long you've been online, what kind of audience do you have, are they engaging, are they responsive to you, how dialed in are you with your personal brand, do you know exactly who you're talking to and what problems you solve for them, are you being a perfectionist and holding yourself back? You know, all of those kind of things you need to take into consideration. But you've got to learn. So you've got to do the do, and you might have a hell of a lot more quantity of content out there than quality content while you're learning, and don't make that wrong. Just test and evaluate, test and evaluate, test and evaluate. Okay? Did any of that make sense? Because it's a hard one to sort of answer, because not everybody is in the same situation on social media. Hey, good to see you online there on Instagram. Hopefully that helps in some way. Now, back to Dean and Florida. The most damaging part of the hurricane is making landfall right now in Saratoga? Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, which is about 75 miles north of us. We're getting the fierce outer band with 30 to 40 miles per hour winds with gusts near 75. So far, we still have a power. Amazing. Well, I hope you keep your power. I know you're on just to kind of keep yourself distracted. I've seen some of the footage this morning from, you know, I mean, we're far from it here in Australia, but some of the footage that I've seen of just houses. I saw one, like a 3-story house had obviously just been built. It was just the framework, and it literally just went gone. And like, yeah, established houses, just water came, and like I can't imagine being in that situation. So Dean, lovely to have you on. I hope you stay safe. Please keep us, while you've got power, keep us informed. We want to know that you're safe, and anybody else that's in that area or surrounding areas or know people in those areas, send them prayers. Hopefully they can get through it. Okay, and Cherie, I'm still in recovery from perfectionist. Who's a self-proclaimed perfectionist, and you know it holds you back from creating content on social media? If that's you, you have to let it go. That was one of the things I had to learn very early on. I come from corporate. I wore a suit every day. I worked with men every day. I was one of the youngest general managers in the corporate world, and I always dealt with, a bunch of guys around a boardroom table that were a hell of a lot older than me, hell of a lot more educated than me, and a hell of a lot more experience in corporate. I had to lift my game. I had to be very knowledgeable, and I stepped into a level of professionalism and perfectionism that when I came online, I was still that person. It doesn't work. It just does not work on social media, having that same kind of level of, you can still have a level of professionalism, but you just have to genuinely, authentically be you. That is your biggest asset, not trying to be a perfectionist or trying to be a professional. It's you. In this industry, like of social selling and networking and network marketing, you're your biggest asset. And being a perfectionist with your social media content or anything to do with your business, it will only slow you down and stop you in your tracks. And it wasn't until I let my walls down that I started to get true connection with people on social media. Like genuine conversations and genuine connection and genuine engagement when I started to be genuinely me. And the hard part about that is letting your walls down. But you have to. If you want to be successful on social media. You have to let your walls down. You have to learn to be authentically, genuinely you. But, in that, knowing exactly who you serve and what problems that you solve for people. So you're speaking the right language. So the right people raise their hands. Otherwise, you're just confusing the crap out of everybody. Okay. All right. Thank you, Helen. This training brings me back to reality with content. Awesome. I'm glad it's helpful. So I will be live same time tomorrow. Hopefully we've got good updates, from Dean tomorrow, when I'm live and we're not sort of hearing bad news. So thinking of you in the next 24 hours, Dean, and everyone else in the Florida area, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Okay. Don't forget, if you're a coaching community member, go and grab the replay of the training that I just did on active and passive prospecting and all the language and questions and notes that I gave you around that. Okay, catch you tomorrow. Stay safe, Dean.